Welcome to Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Christensen. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Christensen.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Christensen. If you watch TV, and you do because you're watching this program, on many of the other TV channels, you see endless commercials. They're constant, they're endless, they're repetitive. They're all about medications to help solve this, that, and the other ailment. Medications that also have side effects. They tell you there's a disclaimer at the very end of the commercial saying you can have diarrhea, headaches, nausea, maybe even death. Why are Americans taking all these medications? Because their TV commercials are telling them to do so? Well, it could be because of their diet. So on the show today, we're going to talk about meds, but meds without an S. We're going to talk about med instead of meds. Med as in Mediterranean diet. We're going to talk about the Bernalillo County Extension Program and how they have a program to help you and me eat better and using food as our medication instead of those other medications that give us headaches, diarrhea, nausea, and maybe even death. So please stay with us as we discuss med instead of meds. We'll be back right after this.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers.
We are normal people just like you.
And together, we can make a difference.
Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Oftentimes I laugh at those commercials. I mean, number one, I don't like to see all the commercials, but I laugh at the disclaimers. I mean, you take this medication and you could be having diarrhea and headache and nausea and pains and all sorts of things, maybe even death. I mean, come on here. Americans are obviously taking a lot of medications, but we know that food can be our medication. And who can tell us better than anyone? Well, actually, Dr. Nuzzo, who we have on the program, tells us that, but also Dianne Christensen, who is an associate professor with New Mexico State University and also with the Bernalillo County Extension Program. Dianne Christensen, thanks for all that you do in our community and for pounding down the message, don't eat sugar. Thank you. A new program,
yes.
Med instead of meds.
Yes.
It's a 6-week class, which has been offered, but now you can find it online.
Yes, it was developed by North Carolina State, and we presented it, and it's all online. So people can listen to whichever, there's 6 sessions. They have the PowerPoints, the handouts, and the recordings are there. So whatever you're interested in and finding out, you can just click on that and find your way. So to find it, you can just put in your browser NMSU Mediterranean Diet, and it'll take you to the link that you want.
And the link is, again, med instead of meds. Med instead of meds, that's the name of the
That is a
program.
North Carolina State one, which has a lot of recipes and all those good things, but if you want to watch the recordings and get the PowerPoints and the handouts, that is NMSU Mediterranean Diet, and then they'll see that. Then they'll see a subheading of med instead of meds.
Now we've heard about the Mediterranean diet. We've been hearing about it. Some of us don't know too much about it, but so this program is a lot about eating the way of the Mediterranean diet.
Yes.
And the reasons, and we're going to go through the reasons. We're going to give you some tips, and we're going to first start with kind of a misnomer that I had about the Mediterranean diet is, I thought you're eating Greek food.
Yes.
From the Mediterranean. I mean, like the Mediterranean, like a lot of olives and olive oil.
Yes.
And salads. That's what I'm thinking it is. And fish, which partly it is, but it isn't really the flavor of the Mediterranean.
Yes. It was kind of developed because in that area around the Mediterranean Sea on the globe, people there have really lived a long time, and they studied that. So they came up with this pattern of eating called the Mediterranean diet, but it's really based on principles that you can integrate with Mexican food or Italian or Indian. Whatever you enjoy can totally be made. You can eat the Mediterranean pattern with whatever flavor principle.
Pattern.
Yeah, it's
whatever
an eating pattern.
It's an eating pattern, so it isn't just the taste. of Greek food.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So we love here in New Mexico food.
Yes.
Can we eat, I was going to say the Greek way, but I'm going to say, can we eat the Med way
Yes.
with the New Mexico diet?
Absolutely, yes. If you love that, and just it's just applying the principles that you learn in how to do that. And so it's not a radical change. It's just making some adjustments in what you're eating.
Now, we've had through New Mexico State University and Bernalillo County Extension various programs about eating and about the Mediterranean diet, I think, in the past. How is this program, the 6-part series, different?
It's just very comprehensive. It is an excellent program. When I found it, I thought it was so good that I wanted to bring it to New Mexico. So that's how it goes over so many health principles that I thought it was just very comprehensive. So,
and each session is about an hour?
Yes, each section
Okay.
is about an hour, and then there's handouts, and then, as I mentioned, North Carolina State has a wonderful website with just a ton of recipes that you can go on and get as well. So it's a really wonderful tool if you're interested in eating this way.
We're going to, if you're interested in eating this way. Okay, well, you're going to make us interested in eating this way. And I know you've been on here before, and I know you've pounded this into me. So we've talked about various things before, but I'm going to start with one that a lot of us have a problem with, and I've heard about recently, is the sugar. Kind of sugar is poison, but not only that, what constricts the blood vessels in our brain, carbs do, or sugar does, and that allows the blood not to flow and can cause dementia.
Yes, and I have not read anything particularly about carbs doing that, but 2/3 of all chronic diseases could be preventable by people, simply people making changes in the way they eat and being more active.
Because I've heard
it's pretty
from
shocking.
Protects against cognitive decline.
Yes.
By protecting the small blood vessels in the brain.
Yeah.
40% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's when you eat the Med way.
Right, because it emphasizes the healthy oils. A lot of those healthy oils, fish is super important in that, and so I think it's more than maybe not eating sugar. It's all of those things together that the Mediterranean diet brings together.
Because I had a friend, a dear friend, who has cognitive decline, and I know for a while she was on a very restrictive carb diet, and again for constricting the blood vessels in the brain, which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
The sugar eater in me, the sweets eater in me didn't realize the importance of that.
Yeah.
But let's go into then the sugar. Started with my favorite.
Yes.
I read somewhere in your material you should limit yourself to 3 servings of sugar a week. And I said I have 3 servings of sugar before noon.
Well, women should have 6 teaspoons of added sugar, and that's why it's important to read labels, and men 9 teaspoons of added sugar. But the average American eats 23 teaspoons of sugar a day. So one of the major ways, if you are wanting
I'm going to show you this. I think, do we have a slide on this as well? We might have a slide.
Yeah, possibly.
But here are the numbers.
Yes.
We should have 6 or 9.
Yeah, women 6, men 9. But the easiest way to cut down on your sugar is simply to stop drinking it. We drink about 50% of our added sugar in sodas and that type of thing. So if you can begin, and again, if you're a big soda drinker, you don't need to just knock it all off right away, but slowly taper down to water, flavored waters, things like that.
It says in a 20-ounce soda, and you see a lot of people carrying these big 20-ounce sodas.
Yes, that's the size now.
15 teaspoons of sugar in one soda?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and so it really does make a difference. I know my husband, he was in the pre-diabetic range, and he's not heavy, but one alteration he made is just stop drinking soda, and that made the difference. So it doesn't mean that you have to make these huge, massive changes. It's just making small changes, small sustainable changes every week.
What's interesting, your husband is not heavy,
No.
yet you cannot be heavy and still be pre-diabetic.
Yes.
Why is
yes.
that?
Just, it doesn't really, a lot of people who are heavy are prone to diabetes, but for example, it runs in his family. So he's more at risk for that. People that have ethnicities that are Hispanic, Black, and Native American have much higher risk for developing diabetes. And so it's really important to just watch your your lab work so that you can stay out of that diabetes range.
What else can you tell us about the danger and the poison of sugar?
Well, it was pretty compelling.
Wait. Yeah, tell us the compelling. I just saw this tip.
The information
Okay.
is just that, really sugar is making us sick. And, I think you have to have a good why for not eating sugar, especially.
A good what?
A good why around it, because if you just tell yourself, don't eat sugar, bad, 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 that lasts for about 10 minutes, for me anyway. But when I think about sugar is related to major health concerns such as heart disease, tooth decay. This one got me, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. A lot of people
non-alcoholic fatty liver
disease.
Because you hear of liver disease is caused by alcohol, but alcohol has sugar in it.
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, just it's non-alcoholic. A lot of people are getting this fatty liver disease, and could be from excessive sugar. There's a syndrome, it's called metabolic syndrome, and that's high blood pressure and your triglycerides, high triglycerides, that's fat in your blood, and your lower good cholesterol, which is your HDL, and you have more belly fat if you're eating a lot of sugar, and as we age, we tend to put on that belly fat, and so sugar only increases that. And then the other things that you're at risk for are diabetes, obesity, and gout. So eating the med way helps you avoid all these things. And in addition, in my family, Alzheimer's is something that runs in our family. And so again, I'm really watching what I'm eating to promote brain health, which we talked about a minute ago. And that's a really important aspect of the Mediterranean diet as well.
Here on this other slide it says med tips, don't drink sugar,
Right.
but it's one of the slides in the program that you can go online and find, the 6 weeks program, but it doesn't tell me what the tip is. It's just telling me not to drink the soda and the orange juice that has a lot of the sugar.
Yes, a lot of
so
sugar.
So what's the tip? What's the tip?
Well, when I was making that switch, I loved putting lemon and infusing my water with fruit. That's really helpful. There are so many good carbonated that are sugar-free now. There's so many carbonated waters. If you like the carbonation, you could certainly have that without the sugar. But it is one small way that you can begin to move in a more healthy lifestyle.
Is the sugars. And that's part of the med way instead of taking a med. Because people take a med, if they eat too much sugar, then they'll take a med to counter it and stop taking the medication to alter your diet prior to having to take that medication, I guess.
And the thing of it is this compounds. So, maybe if you're 30, you think, do I really need to think about that? But the decisions that you're making at 30 will have a direct impact on you when you're 50. And so what you're doing at 30 is going to tell you what your quality of life is going to be at 50. It really does impact how you're going to live in 20 years. So a lot of people, when they retire, they begin to look at healthy habits, which is great. That's wonderful. But it's really good to start early, too.
A lot of people take meds to decrease some forms of cancer, but by eating the med way, according to this program, it can decrease some forms of cancer.
Yes. Yeah. It decreased some forms of cancer. It's also, I think, the low-fat diet, that was so popular for so many years. But the Mediterranean diet actually promotes healthy fats, but again, in moderation. It doesn't mean that you can have, gallons of olive oil or, how many nuts you want. But a serving of nuts is what will fit in the palm of your hand. And so I'm always amazed, like if I have a serving of nuts that sits in the palm of my hand and like a piece of fruit, that is a great snack. It's a powerful snack because it has the fruit, which has carbohydrates, which we absolutely need for our brain health, but it also has protein in the nuts, and nuts have good fats in them. So it promotes eating more of the good fats like olive oil, avocado oil. And how you can tell a good fat is anything that is liquid at room temperature is a healthy fat. Anything that's solid, you want to stay away from. So lard, solid, butter, solid, Crisco, solid. So anything that's solid at room temperature, coconut oil is another one, it's solid at room temperature. Those are saturated fats.
So stay away from the coconut oil because it's
yes,
okay.
Yeah, it's saturated. And again, these things in moderation. If you love butter, that's fine in moderation, but just trying to promote the healthier
But you're
fats.
saying you said carbs for cognitive health, and I had just said I understood that carbs were not good for cognitive health.
Well, they're very important for your brain health. A lot of people, this whole, it's low fat, low carb, but carbs, they're a main source of energy for one thing, and they also are very important for our brain health and our brain function. And so it's just not eating excessive. People tend to think of carbs as spaghetti and bread, and those are refined carbs. But where I try and get most of my carbs is from whole foods, like fruits and vegetables. So if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, which the Mediterranean diet encourages us to, then you can get just the right amount of carbs through that.
Sometimes some of these foods, though, don't seem to be very filling, whereas bread and pasta you feel full.
Yeah.
Whereas if you eat a salad or fruits or vegetables, you don't feel so full.
Yeah, and I think the key with that is combining it with protein. Because I know when I just eat a salad with no protein, I'm hungry in 30 minutes. But if I have some chicken on that, if I have some beans on that, if I have some nuts in that, that protein is what really keeps you fuller longer.
It's saying that eating the Mediterranean way may improve eye health, including decreasing the risk of macular degeneration.
Yeah.
Same thing with the blood vessels. It constricts perhaps like it does for the cognitive effect.
Yeah.
Constricted blood vessels to the eye.
Yeah, and those healthy fats are really important. Our body, for our skin, our hair, all, mind functioning, the healthy fats are important. You don't want to eliminate all fat out of your diet, just make sure it's healthy.
We're going to go through changing the protein, swapping your fats, vegetables, fruits and nuts, whole grains, rethinking the sweets. But before we get into all these, what would you like to what do you think the biggest step people can do right now to make the change?
The biggest thing I think would be to consider cutting back if you're a big soda drinker. Just trying to make that switch to other kinds of things. Secondly is to be more active. It's recommended that we get 150 minutes of activity every day, a week. So that equivalates to about 30 minutes of activity 5 times a week. And
activity to get the heart pumping, or just activity to get off the couch?
It's very important to. A lot of people think, I got a lot of steps, and that's great, but that's called activity. And what I'm talking about is exercise, where your heart rate goes up.
Okay, there's a big difference there, Diane.
Yeah, so if you go for a walk, don't go for a stroll. Get out there and go somewhere, and that's what these Fitbits are really handy for that, because it tells you what your heart rate is and how much energy you're expending. And so Fitbits are real helpful with that. Yeah.
But you don't necessarily need it if you feel your heart pounding. You're getting the exercise.
Yes, you can
right.
tell.
Don't lose that as an excuse. I don't have a Fitbit. I'm not going to go until I have one. Well, no. Yeah. You walk up here anywhere in really New Mexico, you can take that incline.
Yes.
That gets the heart going. So eliminating the soda, and even diet soda, I've heard, but I'm not an expert in this, that your body, even though it's diet, your body still treats it or thinks it's like sugar. I've heard that from this other Go-Low. I think there's this new diet called Go-Low out there, and some friends have been on it, and they said that drinking the soda, your body still thinks it's sugar and it reacts to it like sugar, like holding.
Yeah, I think too, the other thing that, at least that in my life, is if you drink, the diet drinks, you're still really getting that high sugar taste. And so there's a thing that is innate in humans. It's called hedonic hunger, and we're attracted.
What's it called?
Hedonic hunger.
Hedonic
and we're
hunger.
attracted to high fat, high calorie, very sweet things. So that's why all the snack foods, really get our attention. But it's interesting, when you move away from those things, your desire for them goes down. And so, so many people report to me when they start eating healthier, they're like, gosh, I don't even crave the sweets like I used to. I can't believe it. And that is true. So I think drinking the diet sodas, that continues to give us a desire for that sugar.
I see. In other foods. Okay.
Yeah.
Still the desire. So those are the other points you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I
Diane?
mean, I think just if people say, well, I really would like to start thinking about the Mediterranean diet.
Right.
So
Start thinking about it.
just eat more fruits and vegetables. That's the first thing. Eat more nuts and seeds, but portioned, because they do have a lot of calories because they're high in fat. Whole grains, just if you have an opportunity, you can choose whole grain spaghetti, or you can choose white flour spaghetti. Choose a whole grain. Whenever you have the opportunity, choose a whole grain. There's a lovely.
Why?
Just because it gives your body the really important fiber and the nutrients, and the other kind has all been stripped out from manufacturing.
Anything white, they say anything white, even
That's
salad
yeah.
dressing kind of white, bread white, flour white, has no nutrients.
Very few, yes.
Or a lot of fat.
And there's a lot of lovely grains, quinoa, farro. I mean, there's a lot of lovely grains. So explore the whole grains instead of having, maybe pasta every night for dinner. Think about having a whole grain for dinner. Experimenting with that. Try to move to the healthier fats: olive oil, avocado oil, anything that's liquid at room temperature. And then here's a big one: is moving away from a lot of red meat to fish and seafood, and maybe incorporating the beans and legumes more. There's a thing called Meatless Monday, is where you maybe would have more of a plant-forward meal that day. And I know at my house we had to move away from red meat just because of the expense of it, so it's caused me to be a little more creative. And with fish, you don't need a big, huge portion, so it is expensive, but you can make it work, and fish tacos and all sorts of things. So it can be really good.
Fish.
Yeah.
Shrimp?
Shrimp is good. Yeah, shrimp is good. And again, you can make, I have a great recipe for fish tacos. We have a New Mexican fish that we fix in one of our cooking classes. It's delicious. So just look at that website and find some recipes. Give them a try.
Now, do you have them on your website, or is it
the link to the North Carolina State website is there. So if they go to our website, they'll find it.
Now, this Mediterranean diet, it's proven. It's proven to do these things. It's saying it can help manage blood pressure and can reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease as much as 30 to 60%. So you've given me all these statistics, and helps reduce, in a study, the risk of developing type 2 diabetes was reduced by 52% when eating the Mediterranean way. So again, through New Mexico State University and through Bernalillo County Extension, you do work on programs that are research-based.
Yes, and evidence-based, yes.
Evidence-based. So is this true?
Yes,
Dianne Christensen,
yes,
is this
and that
true?
is why it's so good to always go with extension, because what we're delivering has been proven. So it's proven science.
Good to know.
Yes.
That it's proven.
Yes.
What else would you like to share?
Well, I think I'd encourage viewers to just go look at the website, maybe look at one of the programs, because anytime you're going to be making a change to your diet, you really have to have in your mind why you're doing it. You have to have a mental shift along with a behavioral shift. So I know for this, when I read that I could cut my risk of chronic disease by 2/3 by eating healthier and being more active, that's motivating. Especially as I'm aging. It's very motivating. And so that's a really good why, that I want to have a really good quality of life as I age. I don't want to be old and sickly. And so listening to these programs creates a really good reason so that when you have a good reason, you're much more likely to stick with it.
Good reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the reason is to have a better quality of life.
Well, it's different for everybody, but for many of us that are aging, yes, having a long, healthy, happy life where our brain and body both function is good. So the Mediterranean diet will help with all those things.
And again, the points are that it doesn't have to taste like Mediterranean flavored profile food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can fit any profile, Italian, Greek, Indian, Mexican. Can you give us more tips about New Mexican food, how we could eat the Mediterranean way with New Mexican dishes?
Yes, I think incorporating more beans. I mean, I know we have a lot of beans maybe that are fixed in lard and that kind of thing. You want to move away from that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
But,
the beans, because I hear the beans and I buy beans. I said, these don't look healthy. Beans don't look healthy, but they are a source of protein.
Yes,
so
and fiber, a huge source of fiber.
But a lot of them don't look healthy. I mean, or taste healthy because they're so good.
Well,
so what do we
yes,
need to do with our beans?
Basically, I just started using beans and putting them in my salad.
What kind of beans?
I like black beans, but garbanzo beans are great. And if nobody's ever made hummus, it's super easy. You just take a can of garbanzo beans and you can food process it, add some oil and tahini. Super easy to do that.
And that's
a great
garbanzo
dip.
is healthy bean.
Yes, it is.
But it has seems like it has a lot of fat to it.
Garbanzos, no. They can be high in sodium, so you always want to rinse them. You want to rinse your beans or buy the low sodium beans also.
What about pinto beans?
Pinto beans are good. It's just, again, how you fix them. So, for example, Extension, we have a wonderful program called Kitchen Creations. And in that program, we teach people, we have a cookbook that was developed by NMSU that takes all of kind of the favorite New Mexican dishes and it's made them healthy. And they are delicious. And I'm a pretty picky eater. So all of the recipes have been tested and they give you ways to, if you love to eat the New Mexican way, if you come to Kitchen Creations, this cookbook is free to you. So.
And we can find that online as well.
Yes, bernalilloextension.nmsu.edu, and we have Kitchen Creations coming up in April and October this year.
Another class people can take.
4-week series.
Plenty of things to look at online.
Yes.
Dianne Christensen, thank you so much. I wonder when this is going to sink in. I keep saying I'm dedicated. I'm rededicating, but it's not easy.
No, it's not.
But for the reason.
Small steps.
Small
That's all. It's very small, realistic steps get you there.
Thank you so much for the reminder. Dianne Christensen with New Mexico State University and Bernalillo County Extension. Thank you for watching this program. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Fire threatens everything in its path. When it threatens our communities, we respond. We bring the fight to the front line. The Army National Guard stands ready because sometimes the front lines are in our own backyard. We will always be there when our community needs us the most. Find out more about serving your community part-time by visiting nationalguard.com.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinnewater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program or to purchase a copy of any Issues and Answers program, visit sunbroadcasting.org or call us at 505-345-1991.